Widespread protests erupted in Myanmar, and many young people are taking up arms against the government. It all began on the morning of 1st of February 2021. Myanmar's military launched a coup against the country's ruling party, the NLD. Those vehicles in the background are on their way to arrest political leaders like Aung San Suu Kyi and her party members. This occurred shortly after the NLD had won a landslide victory in the 2020 general election. While the military said that the election was a fraud, they provided no evidence. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi was accused of illegally importing and using communication devices because 6 walkie-talkies were found in her house. General Min Aung Hlaing seized power and declared a 1-year state of emergency. Martial law was enacted. The military took control of the streets, blocked the internet, and curfews were enforced. The civilian population, who mostly supported Aung San Suu Kyi and democracy, protested the military coup. Myanmar security forces started firing live rounds into the protesters.
We have no weapon, we have nothing, we just holding a paper for freedom, for democracy, and about the Aung San Suu Kyi picture. They just shoot. We didn't attack
just like
them.
that.
Yes.
Just like that. They just
shook in the head, the plasma, and it's like a tremor.
Yeah.
I was very shaking, and yeah.
This 19-year-old girl who was shot and killed by security forces became one of the symbols of the protests. More than 15,000 people have been detained, and more than 2,000 were killed. Many young people have turned to joining rebel groups against the military dictatorship.
I told my parents about it and they encouraged me. They sympathize with us young people and understand our pain. They said we're all born one day and we'll all die one day. To rebel against those with arms, we have to pick up arms ourselves.
Much of the Myanmar conflict is ethnic-based, with numerous ethnic armed groups fighting against the government. In fact, some of these insurgencies were supported by the Chinese Communist Party from the 1960s to the 1980s. But today, it seems that China is supporting the current military junta, such as blocking the UN condemnation of the coup, helping the military junta build internet firewall, and supplying them with weapons. This is despite the United Nations call for an arms embargo. Myanmar's military has been accused of various human rights violations, such as the Rohingya genocide. Myanmar's military has also been accused of targeting civilians.
More than 30 townships that have suffered from the airstrikes across the whole nation.
February it's burned and we free cause the Tatmadaw. I afraid of them. They shoot the gun at night, every night. Scared, so scared.
Following the 2021 military coup, the National Unity Government was established by former members of parliament. The People's Defense Force, formed under the NUG, seeks to coordinate military operations across the country by forming alliance with various rebel groups fighting against the military junta. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. According to the United Nations, more than 1 million people have fled Myanmar as refugees. The military conflict in Myanmar has also spilled over to neighboring Thailand.
ไม่คาดฝันเหมือนกันว่าเขาจะล้ำน่านฟ้าเราเข้ามาวุ่นวายมากวันนั้นเนี่ยคือ แค่ลบกันเนี่ยเด็กก็ขวัญผวาขวัญกระเจิงอยู่แล้วไงครับแล้วคราวนี้โอ้โหเครื่องบินต่ำมากเลยนะโอ้โหทุกคนตื่นตระหนกเลยทุกคนโทรหาผมหมดแล้วว่ามันเครื่องบินไทยหรือเครื่องบินเขาเพราะว่าเขาบินบนเข้ามาก่อน2รอบแล้วรอบที่3เนี่ยค่อยปล่อยกระสุนไม่พอใจเจ้าหน้าที่ฝั่งไทยด้วยไม่พอใจทางฝั่งทหารพม่าด้วยที่แบบว่ามันไม่ชัดเจนเรื่องถ้าคุณไม่มั่นใจเรื่องเขตแดนเนี่ยคุณก็ไม่ควรจะมาแบบว่าโจมตีอะไรบริเวณนี้ไงเพราะว่าถ้าพลาดขึ้นมาคุณรับผิดชอบยังไง
The Association of Southeast Asian Nations have been criticized for the lack of response to the Myanmar crisis. That's because one of ASEAN's principles is the non-interference in the internal affairs of ASEAN member states. However, ASEAN's reluctance to interfere in Myanmar also directly contradicts the principle of the adherence to the rule of law, principles of democracy, respecting fundamental freedoms, protection of human rights, as well as upholding international and humanitarian law. Yeah, talk about pushing the boundaries of non-interference. ASEAN countries like Malaysia and Thailand have also been criticized for deporting Myanmar refugees.
Refugees coming from Karen State are allowed to come into Thailand and stay in Thailand, whether inside these temporary safety zones. Once the conflict on the other side of the border is perceived to have died down, so literally Thai troops have said once we can't hear any firing of guns or any landing of bombs anymore on the other side of the border, you have to go back. But it's not necessarily safe.
So basically, ASEAN is saying, we don't want to solve your problem, but we also don't want your refugees. While ASEAN leaders have agreed to a 5-point consensus, the Myanmar junta refused to comply with any of these points.
Unfortunately, the 5-point consensus show no progress thus far. And this is really unfortunate.
Even the European Union has imposed a much harsher response.